There are moments in football that stop the world, and then there are moments that split it in two. Tonight's World Cup match delivered both at the same time. Lionel Messi, 38 years old, appearing in his sixth World Cup and already a defending champion after lifting the trophy in Qatar 2022, walked out in a stadium in the United States for Argentina's opening group match against Algeria. What followed was one of the most extraordinary individual performances in tournament history. Messi produced a hat-trick, 3 goals that showcased every dimension of his game. First, a clinical finish in the 28th minute after a sharp, flowing team move. Second, a trademark curled strike from the edge of the box just before half-time, the kind of goal that has defined his career for nearly 2 decades. Third, a calm and composed penalty in the 67th minute that sealed both the result and the moment. With that goal, he equaled Miroslav Klose's all-time World Cup record of 16 goals, a milestone once thought untouchable. Argentina won 3-0, a statement victory from the reigning champions, delivered through the brilliance of their captain. But the match was not only about goals. A controversial moment involving Messi and Algerian defender Issa Mandi shifted the tone of the evening. During a challenge, Messi's studs caught the back of Mandi's leg, trailing from knee to ankle. Mandi went down and required medical attention, though he continued playing. Referee Simon Mosiniak awarded a foul but chose not to issue a yellow or red card. The video assistant referee also reviewed the incident and decided there was no clear and obvious error in the on-field decision, allowing play to continue without escalation. Within minutes, debate erupted across social media. Fans and analysts split instantly, some defending the decision, others calling it inconsistent or worse. The conversation quickly expanded beyond a single incident, becoming part of a wider discussion about officiating, VAR interpretation, and fairness at the highest level of the game. What unfolded tonight was more than a match. It became a moment that will be argued long after the final whistle. The pattern of officiating decisions surrounding football's most protected players, and what the Messi challenge reveals about the system that was meant to eliminate controversy but instead appears to be generating new layers of it, has become the central talking point of this World Cup. Let's begin with the incident itself, because the debate is not simply about how the challenge looked. It is about what VAR is actually designed to do when a challenge crosses the line between physical and dangerous play. Under the laws of the game, a red card is required for serious foul play, defined as any challenge that endangers the physical integrity of an opponent through excessive force or brutality. In practical terms, a tackle where studs rake down the back of an opponent's leg, from the knee toward the ankle, falls directly into the category those rules were written to prevent. In isolation, that kind of contact would normally trigger a VAR review, a pitchside monitor check, and in many cases, a red card. Yet in this instance, referee Simon Mosiniak awarded only a foul. VAR did not instruct an on-field review, and the decision stood without escalation. Former Manchester City and England U21 defender Nedum Onuoha, speaking as a broadcast analyst, reflected what many observers felt in real time. In his view, the challenge met the threshold for serious foul play. He described it as clumsy, unnecessary, and dangerous, adding that the raking motion down the calf felt like a missed moment. Importantly, he also highlighted a broader concern, that elite players sometimes appear to receive different levels of protection in high-stakes matches. That point is where the conversation moves beyond a single incident and into a wider structural debate. This is not the first VAR controversy of the tournament. It is already the third major flashpoint, and the pattern is what intensifies scrutiny. Earlier, in Switzerland's match against Qatar, a penalty decision followed by a VAR offside check sparked confusion, particularly because the broadcast did not clearly display the decisive angle that confirmed the ruling. Analysts such as Gary Neville questioned the transparency of the process, while Ian Wright described the handling of the situation as deeply concerning. The second controversy came earlier in the same Argentina-Algeria match. A disallowed Algerian goal ruled out for a marginal offside decision. Moments later, the same game produced the Messi challenge that many felt warranted stronger punishment but was left unpunished. 2 VAR calls. 1 match. Both significant. Both heavily debated. Taken together, these moments have fueled a growing perception issue around consistency, particularly when decisions involve high-profile teams or players. The presence of a globally iconic figure like Lionel Messi inevitably intensifies that scrutiny, whether justified or not. However, it is also important to state the framework clearly. VAR is not designed to re-referee matches. Its standard is not what is arguably correct, but whether there has been a clear and obvious error. If the on-field referee has seen the incident and judged it within the threshold of acceptable play, VAR is instructed to intervene only in extreme cases. Supporters of the decision argue exactly that. Mosiniak made a real-time judgment, and VAR found no definitive reason to overturn it. Between those two interpretations lies the tension that defines modern football. A system built to bring clarity, now struggling under the weight of expectation, interpretation, and trust. VAR reviewed the same footage and found no clear and obvious error in the on-field assessment. In procedural terms, that is the system operating exactly as designed. It defers to the referee unless there is an unmistakable mistake. Under that framework, the decision stands. The argument against that outcome is equally forceful, and it centers on whether clear and obvious error is the right threshold for incidents of this severity. A challenge involving studs raking down the back of a calf, from knee to ankle, sits squarely within the kind of action the red card law on serious foul play was created to punish. Critics argue that the original intent of the law was never meant to be diluted by procedural caution when there is direct physical endangerment to an opponent. Some analysts also raise a hypothetical but important point. If the footage were shown to a neutral panel of qualified officials without any context about the player involved, would the decision be the same? That question sits at the heart of the ongoing debate, because it highlights the gap between theoretical neutrality and perceived reality. Both interpretations can exist at the same time. Both are defensible within their own logic. What is not defensible, and what the football world has increasingly focused on, is the perception that the standard is not applied uniformly across all players and all matches. The concern is not only about correctness, it is about consistency. When the threshold for clear and obvious error appears to shift depending on the player involved, particularly in high-profile moments involving Lionel Messi, the damage is not in the decision itself, but in the trust surrounding it. In elite tournaments, perception becomes reality in the public mind, and tonight's incident has added fuel to that growing skepticism. This debate exists alongside what should be the central sporting story: Messi's historic performance. His hat-trick took him to 16 World Cup goals, equaling Miroslav Klose's all-time record, a milestone that once seemed untouchable. The first goal came from distance, struck with precision and confidence. The second was a curling finish before halftime, classic Messi in its balance, timing, and inevitability. The third, a calm penalty, sealed both the match and a piece of history. At 38 years old, in his 6th World Cup and likely his final appearance on this stage, Messi continues to defy the natural decline expected at this level. The narrative of a final chapter has been repeatedly challenged by his performances, each one extending the story further than expected. Elsewhere on the same day, Kylian Mbappé also delivered a strong performance, scoring twice in France's 3-1 victory over Ivory Coast. That parallel output reignited the global rivalry between Messi and Mbappé, a defining storyline of the modern era, and one that is already shaping the early rhythm of this tournament. However, the broader issue remains the same. VAR was introduced to eliminate decisive refereeing errors and create consistency. While it has succeeded in correcting some clear mistakes, it has also introduced a new challenge: interpretation under a microscope. When decisions are not fully transparent, or when similar incidents produce different outcomes, the system itself becomes part of the controversy. In that gap between intention and perception lies the modern football problem. Not just whether decisions are right, but whether they are trusted.